I sat here for about a minute trying to think of something funny to say. I can't come up with anything today, sorry. No cool intro, just me. I know, it's just me again, back. Another Project Feline devlog doing more Project Felining. Remember, we coined that as a noun. No, sorry, a verb in the Oxford Dictionary last stream. Project Felining is a legitimate verb. That's a real thing. It means to work on Project Feline. So you can go ahead and start using that in your vocabulary, even though none of you are working on Project Feline, so that wouldn't make any sense. But use it anyway, I don't know. I like saying it, so I'm gonna say it. Anyway, how are y'all doing? Oh, thanks so much, Martin. Devlog series has inspired me to have a go. Well, I hope you don't get too discouraged. It's hard, man. it's hard, as you will now see on this stream. Let's have a look. So this could easily be you right now, Martin. So pay attention. Okay, this probably won't be you. You're not gonna make whatever the hell I'm doing. Like no one smart would ever do this. You're probably gonna go about it much smarter than me, hopefully. But I've gotten myself in this mess. I will get myself out. So first of all, I gotta open something. Oh yeah, by the way, before we begin, few things. Firstly, I started using this app recently called Obsidian. which is really cool. It basically, hold on a minute, because I got a few notes that I gotta open. I started using this thing called Obsidian, and I don't know how to use it. Here's the note I wanted to get, but it has Markdown, which is cool. So I've been using it as like I'm gonna use it like a notepad now, basically. So these were the notes I made yesterday. And this is like, you can make checkboxes, which is cool. And this probably seems like the most boring way to pitch Obsidian. But for those who know it, you'll know that it's like really cool. I don't really know how to use it yet, and I want to learn how to use it, but it's like complicated. But it's basically like a very, very like deep note-taking app, and you can do a lot with it. I don't really even know the full extent of it, but it's cool, and it has Markdown, so yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna be using that instead of Notepad to show this checklist stuff, because I actually managed to tick one of these off today, which is great. But we've got some bugs that we found some more bugs yesterday that I'm gonna try and tackle with my mission system. The other thing there was something else I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was now. It'll come to me. Okay, there's two more things. Second thing, I was looking back at the VOD yesterday, and this went over my head completely because I was just in the zone. But one of you, I don't know who it was, most of you are fine, but there was one guy that was like arguing with my moderator. I didn't realize it was happening because I was in the zone. But don't do that. It's rude. No one likes it. And I will give my mod, who hasn't been here for like ages, I think he just like came back from like chemotherapy or something. So, you know, he's not an employee. He volunteers to do this like when he gets time, and he came back after God knows how many months, and then there's just some guy like telling him off, and that really upset me. So don't do that. Like to a moderator in particular, very rude. You will get a timeout from me or the mod. I'm giving my mod permission to time out people as well. He actually showed a lot of restraint. I was expecting him to time him out, and he just sat there and took it. But he shouldn't have to, man. That, like, no one he shouldn't have to. He shouldn't have to sit there and take it. He's been through a lot, and he holds the rules pretty good. He keeps it chill, but there's one guy who was going off at him. It just annoyed me, so don't do that. Third thing, I was popping into Death Diamond 15 stream, and I'm very glad that you use the same username here as on Twitch, because that makes it very easy for me to remember you. He was doing some the W game. He called Project Feline a W game, so we've made it, guys. I don't have to work anymore. We've made it a W game. It's done. No, but it was really cool. They were like streaming stuff, like breaking everything, which can you guys just like stop? Can you stop breaking everything? You're breaking the illusion. You call it a W game, but then you go and break everything. And then people are going to think it's not a W game. So I'll have to politely ask that you stop breaking it and just play it like a normal person. Stop trying to speedrun it. Okay? Because I'm trying to make it look good, but you guys keep glitching it out, and it's like, ugh. Yeah, but it's cool though. It's really entertaining. I also learnt a lot about some decisions that I made that people like, that I don't get why, like certain level design stuff. So that was very helpful. See, that's what I call market research. I'm not being lazy, and I'm not just watching streams. It's market research, guys, okay? For real. It's market research. I'm watching the players. I'm looking for feedback, okay? Anyway. Yeah, you guys always say you don't do it on purpose, but I know you guys. You're there in the little bug reports chat trying to find every bug, and it's like, just don't break it. It's fine. It's all planned. It's all part of the grand plan. Every bug is part of the grand plan. All of this that I'm going through right now, I planned all this. This is all supposed to happen. I'm supposed to have these mission system bugs. But you guys make it look like it was all an accident, and I can't have that now, can I? Because that would make me look stupid, and I can't look stupid. So, it's not my fault it's buggy, it's you guys. You keep finding the bugs. I blame you. Remind me to buy a copy of the game you're working on. I will try. I will write your name down. Oh, hey, I'll take a note. How's that? I'll take a little note on my little app here. Remind HQN to buy a copy of Project Feline. So I'll make that. How do I make that into a tick box? I think I just do this. There we go. That's part of my to-do list now. So today we're gonna do all this. we're gonna fix these 2 bugs somehow, and we're gonna remind HQN to buy Project Feline. Anyway, so let's get in the zone. Okay, let's get in the zone. So last time, we fixed a few problems, which is great, but we've now caused more problems, which is not great. So we're gonna have to do something about that. First of all, I need to check on something. I think if I don't know, we'll hit play, see what happens. Okay, so you guys might have noticed something just then. I'm gonna restart the mission. I don't know if I can do it in... Okay, it kind of does it in slow motion. All right, it's really hard to make out, but you'll see that there's like metrics that spawn on the screen whenever I start the mission, and then they just instantly vanish. So that's not good. We can't have that going on. So what's meant to happen, if you were here yesterday, what's supposed to happen when I start a mission? And just a quick recap. Metrics keep track of things. Missions exist in the world and can be loaded and unloaded. It isn't some game mode nonsense. We're not doing any of that. All of the game objectives can be changed while the game's running. You don't have to reload the whole level or anything like that. If I run into... Right now, there's no mission active. If I run into this volume, the mission activates and a few metrics spawn on screen that keep track of my time, my cogs, and my score. And different missions can keep track of different things because I've made this system very flexibly so that you can make different kinds of missions with it. But what's supposed to happen in this mission is that there's supposed to be a clock that spawns in the middle of the screen first that counts down from 3. And that's a placeholder for something else I'm going to do later, because I want to have this nice sequence, like a countdown sequence for these missions, where the camera like pans around, Gabby does some kind of pose, and the big text on the screen that has like 3, 2, 1, go. But I don't have any of the assets for that yet. I haven't made any animations or text graphics, but I do have an empty, you know, blocked out bit of the mission to put that stuff into, except it doesn't work right now. Because you've just noticed that the countdown doesn't happen and it instantly starts the mission. And that wasn't happening yesterday. So let's look at what's going on. So there was an issue yesterday. I showed this off just as I did, like the exact same thing I just did here, I did yesterday. And I noticed a new bug that happened. And the bug is that that little countdown did work, but I was trying to demonstrate that you can... Let's go to this. So this little invisible object is the mission. And if we go to the mission, there is a component called watch on it. And there's a few others. There's the score and the cogs and everything else. But if we go to the watch, scroll down, there's a lot of settings. One of those settings is starting value. Because I tried to demonstrate that you can turn the watch into a timer by setting a starting value and setting the count speed to like a negative so that it starts at 60 seconds and then counts backwards to 0 and then triggers an event. But when I tried to show that off yesterday, it didn't load from the starting value. It just went from 0. But the other watch did start from the starting value. So you can see at the moment, it's 0. It's supposed to be at 1 minute, but it's at 0. And it's like, well, why is that not loading correctly from the start value? And that's where I did a bit more digging. So I did a little bit of digging this morning to try and figure out what was happening, because I wanted to like figure out a plan before I hopped on stream of how I was going to solve this. Otherwise, we would have been here for like 5 hours. So I have a rough idea on why it's happening, but there's still issues that I need to figure out. So if we go to the mission, I think... No, it's not that. It's the metric component. There's a few things. So I recently added some new functionality to these and these metrics, this is the base class for all of those trackers on the screen that you saw in the corner. So there are different types. They all have things in common, but they all track something different. But they all track it the same way. Some of these metrics are things like a watch, some of them are the score, some of them is a speedometer, like there's a speedometer metric, one is a health metric. You can make a lot of different kinds depending on what you want to keep track of. Now, on these base metrics, I changed something off stream that has now caused a lot of problems. And that is that these metrics can respond to mission events. So an example is because the mission is its own separate object. It's a whole separate thing, the mission. Whether all the mission does is that it has a state, and that's literally it. It's just like a state machine, basically. So at the moment, the mission code just says that the mission is inactive right now. If I walk into this volume, it will activate the mission. And if I hit the end goal, it will deactivate the mission. Or, you know, it's just a state machine, basically. That's all the mission system really does. It just says, hey, this thing we've decided to call a mission, this is now active. And when we touch this thing, it's now inactive. It's literally just a state. The interesting bit comes with these metrics, because these are what really define the parameters of the mission. Because when you're in a mission, that's when things like your time and score and everything start to become relevant. So, you know, some missions might have a time limit. Some missions, you know, they might not care about time at all, and it's just collect 10 cogs or something. That's where all these metrics come into play. So this mission is just an empty receptacle that triggers metrics to be turned on and then turned off. That's basically all it is. But those metrics themselves are quite clever, because the metrics, by the way, you can use on more than just the mission. So if we were to go to these gates, for instance, now this is, I've kind of made more bugs now, because these were supposed to open when you collect all the cogs, and they don't do that now. But these have their own metric on them, called int counter, and these get triggered by the cogs when you collect them. So if you collect a cog, like in the level, I don't know, I was gonna... Can I move my... Yep. So if you collect one of these, it'll bind itself to the gate, to this int counter. And when it reaches 10, it opens. So you can... Then this is the same system that's used on the missions. So you can use these metrics on anything for a lot of different purposes, which is by design, because I think it's really cool that you can do that. But yeah, these missions can also respond to what the current mission is doing, whether it's actually part of that mission or not. So these cogs are, and the gate is completely independent of the mission. The gate is not the mission. It just happens to be there in the level. But the metrics that are on them that keep track of the cogs, can listen to what the mission is doing and do stuff. So here are some of the event dispatches that I've created that trigger some of these things. For example, and this is for every single metric, every single thing you see all has this. So you can tell it when the mission is loaded to do something. You can tell it when the mission has started to do something. And there's a difference between loaded and started, but that's not really important. Basically, you can trigger things. The metric can do stuff when a mission is loaded and unloaded. And the default event I've put in here, just for all of the metrics, because I can go into each child metric and add specifics, but for the default, it just turns the metric on or off, depending on a few factors. So for example, when mission is loaded, for this metric, it will call this function with these arguments. And these arguments are all variables that we can set. For example, and some of these I've just added this morning, because these were actually plugged in the wrong way. But this new one I've made called load value on mission load. What this is supposed to do, and combined with this one, load from starting value on mission load, is when the mission is loaded, it's supposed to fix the bug we had yesterday where that little stopwatch wasn't actually starting from the proper point, because I set a starting value of 60 seconds and it didn't work. This is supposed to fix that, but it doesn't. And the reason we had that problem yesterday in the first place is because when it goes load value on mission load and everything, because what I used to have something else plugged in here called load value on activate. And that triggers when you just turn the metric on and off in any default situation. But that was also occurring when you loaded and unloaded the mission, and there was a conflict where at the beginning, when the mission is enabled the first time, it is supposed to load it from the starting value. But there's another event down here, which I added recently that didn't used to be here, this, where it detected that the mission had been loaded the same time at begin play, and then it was replacing those arguments with new arguments here, and that's why it wasn't loading from the beginning, because these ones were set to false and the one up there was set to true. So it was conflicting with itself, and that's why it didn't work. Now, I've tried to remedy that, and it still doesn't work. So this is where the fun begins, because that should work. By all accounts, it should, but it doesn't. So let's investigate. Oh, you know what? I think I actually think I might know. It might be a really simple thing, actually. Let's so I'm gonna open, because here's the cool thing about metrics, is that you can actually have more than one of the same type of metric on the same actor and have it actually work. Mostly. It just doesn't work if you compile it. You have to compile it, and then you have to go to the base metric class and compile that, and then it'll work. But that's the only thing you have to do. It used to be a lot worse, like 3 weeks ago. But now it's like pretty stable, mostly stable. But anyway, so we've got score, cogs, countdown. And you'll notice that countdown, you see in parentheses, it says watch. And if I go to watch, it also in parentheses says watch. And that's because these two are the exact same. It's the same component. It's just this instance has slightly different parameters than this one. So the countdown, which is supposed to trigger first, it just starts from 3 seconds and counts backwards. Whereas the other one, this triggers after this one is finished, and that counts forwards, and it doesn't have a limit. It just keeps track of how long you've been in the level. But I don't have to like write a second component and copy and paste the code. It's just the same thing. It's just the parameters are tweaked. And I love things like that. But there seems to be a problem with this one. So I think all I need to do, because I don't think I've set defaults for those new booleans that I made. So I've got all these new booleans here in the mission. Here we go, in the mission section. So all of these booleans are new. These weren't here yesterday. I made these today. So for this one, this is that countdown sequence that's supposed to trigger at the start of a mission. So we need to tell it to actually start from the start value when the mission is active. And there should be, here we go, load value on mission loaded. And then we also want to tick load from starting value when mission loaded. Now, why is there 2 of these? There's a reason why. Load value on mission loaded will load whatever the saved value is. And that can be set to whatever. Like, when you reach a checkpoint, some metrics will save their value for later, so that if you die, it'll like if you have like 10 score and then you get 10 more points but die, you'll load that 10 score back to what you had before you died. Like it'll load. So loading will just load the saved value. Load from starting value will specifically overwrite the save value to the start value. In this case, we want it to do that at the start of the mission. So I think we just need to tick those 2 on, and then we need to go to the watch and make sure that okay, this is also... All right, well, that should work then. We'll see what happens, though. Let's just check the score as well and see if that loads. Okay, that has them enabled by default. What about cogs? Does that have them loaded? Okay, that does. All right, let's see what happens. It should work, but you never know with this stuff. You never know. So let's save, and then I have to make sure that this gets compiled as well. And that should, let's give it a test run. Okay, so far so good. Okay, not so good. It kind of worked. So you'll notice that the countdown is now working. So if I restart the mission and damn it, ignore the big thing. That's another bug actually. Do I have that one written down? Yes, so that's the bug we do after this one. So let me just hide that one for the moment, because we'll get to that, okay? We'll get to it, I promise. Just not yet, okay? We gotta take it a thing at a time. So that big thing that was spawning over the screen, just ignore that, don't worry. It's fine, it's part of the grand plan, okay? It's part of the grand plan. I just need to turn off one thing. I think that's it. Okay, let's try again. So you see how it goes 2, 1, 0, and then it lets me move. Okay, so that didn't work 5 minutes ago, so that's great. But now you'll see that the actual watch doesn't activate on the other side, which is not good. We don't want that. That's very bad. So we got to do something about that. There is one more thing I do... Oh, why is that still happening? Hold on. It should... No, stop spawning the thing on the screen. What are you doing? Oh, I know what I did. I modified the wrong... Because I still have backups from the old system here, which I do need to get rid of at some point. Let's try that again. So if I restart the mission, okay, it shouldn't. And we fixed that bug yesterday where if you hit R, yes, the input bug is still there. That's something we'll also try and get to. But the metrics should not update before that countdown is finished. And that, okay, that works. That's great. Cool. So now it's just the watch isn't starting from the value correctly. So we need to figure out how we solve that. It's got to be, it might just be some combination of tick boxes I have set wrong in all likeliness. Real quick, I'm just going to reload the level because I changed the graphics quality and the lighting's all screwed up. When an Easter egg, where in a rare change, Gabby does the same dance beat when you beat a level in JSR. Is that the game I think it is? Hold on. GSR. Did I say GSR or JSR? Oh, okay. That's it. I don't know what that is. It's like showing me a map of like warehouses. JSR game. Oh, okay, you mean this. Yeah, assuming it isn't like trademarked. Sure. Yeah, it's like Mario Kart. Yeah, that's sort of like how the countdown is sort of like. Now, I don't have a whole, thing. Like, I don't have a whole sequence made, but I have a placeholder for it. That's kind of, you can see this as like a placeholder little ceremony when you start a mission. I know it looks very bare bones, but trust me, like to get it to that point was actually really cool because that I can make countdowns like that anywhere I want without having to write more code, and that is something that's really cool. I'm probably the only one that cares though, but I think it's really cool. Oh yeah, and also, yeah, I totally forgot to mention, but these cogs, so these now work now. They weren't working 5 minutes ago, but if I collect all 10 cogs, because they are bound to the gate, and the gate has a metric on it, then it'll open the gate when I collect all 10 of them. There we go. And that didn't require, like, that doesn't require any extra level scripting. You don't have to go into the level blueprint and do that stuff, right? Because I hate doing that. So all of that stuff is all systemic. None of it has to go in the level blueprint. It all just works, okay? This is my Todd Howard like moment. When the gate opens, it just works. It just works. Except the watch doesn't work. So let's go and fix that. So why isn't the other watch not working? Because the first watch, if we go back and look at it, it starts from 3 and goes 2, 1, 0, but the other watch is supposed to start from 60 seconds. Because I just oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I might know why it hasn't. Let me go click on it. Did I compile this? Because when you compile a actor, sometimes it overrides the instance properties. And I don't know why it does that, but it does that sometimes. Kind of annoying, but oh well. I don't know what to do about that. Okay, well, it still has it set to 60. Oh, it has count speed to 0. Okay, well, that's not good, because it's not going to count if it's set to 0. But the starting value isn't working. I don't know. Well, let's at least... it should start counting now. It just won't be from the right point. Oh. Why is none of it? Oh, no. Okay, wait. I have to go here. I have to turn that off. I have to go here and I have to turn that. Okay. It's just, when you save the mission, sometimes it like overrides, yeah, some of those settings. So I just got to make sure that that tick box is on. Okay. Now the watch will start. Yes. Okay, the watch starts when the countdown finishes. It just doesn't start from the right value. Neither does the score, actually. It's supposed to start from another value. Yeah, because what I tried to do, just for an example, because it seems like the countdown and the, what is it called? The cog counter are the only ones that actually start properly. So if I go to the thing, you know what I mean? Will it have catchphrases? I'm not sure. Not sure. I'm like trying to avoid voice acting for my game, and there's a deliberate reason why. Firstly, it's expensive. Secondly, from what I've observed, I see a lot of indie games try voice acting. Most of the time, it just doesn't sound great. I'm not saying that as an insult. I don't want to be one of those games that has bad voice acting. So there are a few solutions around that. You either raise a lot of money and get great voice actors, or you just don't do that. So that's what I'm doing. It's economical, it's efficient, gets the job done, and you know, that's, yeah. So I don't know about catchphrases, but I got some ideas. I can't say what they are, but I have some ideas for stuff that might be just as good. And I'm not, like, that comes from experience too, by the way, because I actually did try voice acting for one of my games. It is a lot harder than it looks. Let me just say. I know you guys might find that hard to believe, because I do get... I don't mean this as like, oh, look at me, but I have been complimented a lot about my voice. But doing a YouTube video and playing a character are not the same. Now, this whole thing I tried doing before YouTube, so I probably do a better job at it now, but I will definitely not do a good a job as an actual professional, because it isn't just about having talent, it's about directing the talent. I don't know how to do that. So I either invest the time to learn how to do that, or I don't, and spend that time somewhere else. And, you know, when you're an indie, it's what you got to do sometimes. You got to say, okay, well, I'd like to do this, but, you know, the time investment, opportunity costs, you know, it's, do I really want to learn how to become a highly competent voice director on top of everything else? Sometimes you just can't afford to, right? Like, you got to be very careful with what battles you pick. So, because, yeah, that's the thing. I could find someone that's really great, but if I don't know what I want, it's not going to matter. They could be the greatest voice actor on the planet, but if I can't tell them and articulate them what I want, it's completely pointless. Like, there's no point, because a voice actor is only as good as the direction that they're given, I think. Not to say that they can't carry some of that, like, they've got that talent, but the great combo is when you have great direction and a great cast. But if one of those things isn't good, people can tell. Always. Even if they want to be in denial about it and say, oh, well, I didn't notice, they will. They might be too polite to say, but they will notice. So I just avoid that, because it's not worth it. Like, there are other ways to get personality across that aren't using voice. Well, yeah, even if I encounter a cheap voice actor, if I can't communicate what I want, like, oh yeah, I want her to sound this way or whatever, it's not going to matter, because they're not going to know what to do. They might try, they would have to figure out what to do. And it's like, why give them that burden when I could, if I was that good, I could just tell them, like, what I'm after. Because if you actually look, because I've looked at, like, footage of, like, people in booths, and they'll do, like, 10 of the same line, and the director will know, like, okay, that inflection there wasn't quite right, I want more of this and that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what I want. So it's like, you know, it's too, that's maybe a risk you shouldn't do unless you know what you're doing. Because, you know, if you want to do a good job, like, you either do it right or you don't do it. That's sort of how I see it. Do I think that game is the next Fortnite? Oh yeah, guys, totally. It uses Unreal, so it's the next Fortnite. Absolutely. No, I don't. I don't know, man. Fortnite, nothing is going to be the next Fortnite. Fortnite is just kind of its own thing. Fortnite will outlive all of us. When humanity has evolved into some new genus, Fortnite will remain. So I can't possibly go up against that. Alright, so let me just think for a moment on why that's not working. Back on topic. So if I go to watch, I need to carefully look at my variables. If I scroll down, because I've got these turned on, load value on this and load on start value, that's supposed to do something, but it isn't doing something, which is not good. It's not good. Oh, you know what? I have a theory. I think I have a theory why this isn't working, and I think it's because it just so happens, there's a funny coincidence, where all of the metrics that don't load are the ones that are inactive, which is interesting. Let me try something. If I tick these on instead, what will happen? So I'm going to tick on mission start instead of on mission load. Oh, I see. Okay, so the problem, I've identified the problem. If you tell it to load on start mission, but the metric is inactive, it won't. It just will ignore the request. It'll only do it after that countdown. Like if we pay attention, 3, 2, 1, 0, then it starts at, then it loads 1 minute and starts counting. I want it to load before the mission starts, but I don't want the watch to be active. I just want it to load the value and keep it there and then turn on. Because if you have a time limit thing, like let's say that, well actually yeah, because what I can do now, I can actually have this go count backwards and have it not break. So if I go to the mission, scroll to watch, scroll to, and here, check this out, check this out. This is gonna be awesome. So if I go count speed -1 and then scroll up to, or scroll down to complete on min value, we now have a time limit. Just by changing like 2 variables, we now have a time limit, and I didn't have to go and make a whole new bit of code just to do a time limit, because it just works. It just works. So now, after that countdown, the clock will then, yeah, it starts counting down from 1 minute. And when it reaches 0, the mission will go, game over. And yes, it will do it in the Jeff Steitzer voice. I know I just said I wasn't going to have voice acting, but I'll make an exception for Jeff Steitzer. That's right. When you do anything in this game, like when you collect a cog, you're going to hear Jeff saying, cog collected. That's what's going to happen. So, what was I saying? Anyway, so that works, but it doesn't load when I want it to load. So we need to investigate this set active, because I think this will actually ignore this if the metric isn't active. That's my guess. That's my game theory, okay? So I think what we need to do, let me just think carefully here. Load metric, set value. Aha, I found the culprit. So the reason why it isn't updating, like, because here's what I want, okay? Here's what I want. I want to go to watch, and I want it to just load the metric before it turns on. Like because what I want to happen, and this is important, this is like a game design decision. What I want is when you start a mission, there's the countdown. Now here's the important thing. When the countdown happens, when you run into that volume and the countdown starts, the mission has been loaded, but the mission isn't active. It's just been loaded. After the countdown, that's when the mission starts and the stopwatch goes and the cog counter and score start to turn on and actually track things. But before that point, they are inactive, waiting for that countdown. The mission is loaded, but inactive. Here's the problem. These metrics are only designed, it is apparent that these missions will not take the load, like if you try and load them, they won't load if the metric is disabled. It only loads if they are enabled. And I want, for this case, for them to be able to load and still be disabled. And then when the countdown finishes, then they enable, but they are starting from that load value since, like, from the beginning. Like, they can load that value when they turn on, but I want it so that while they're still disabled, they can still load the value. And the reason why that is, there's an important reason why. The reason why that is because imagine, you're gonna have to use your imaginations here. Imagine you start a mission. Oh, hold on, it broke. I have to recompile something. Imagine the mission starts. Imagine that those metrics on the side. Oh. Hold on a minute. Hold on, something broke. I think I just have to change one thing. Yeah, wait, just a moment. I'm gonna set the count direction back to the thing. Just gotta turn off something. So I'll turn that on. Let me just save, and then I have to recompile save, and then I'll show you the demonstration. The point I'm trying to get across. So when we start, I want you to imagine that the countdown, and then you notice how it's like, oh, well all right, never mind the fact it didn't load. That's the bug we're trying to fix anyway, right? But imagine that there's a time limit of like 60 seconds. Now here's the problem. If I load the mission, it doesn't tell me what the time limit is straight away. I only find out until after the countdown is finished. So what I want, because there's a reason why those other metrics are on the screen before the mission has begun, and that's because I want to give the player a chance to actually look at what they're up against before the mission begins. So during that countdown, you have the nice fancy stuff going on, but in the corner, I want those metrics to be there, and if there's a time limit, it should say like 60 seconds or something, and I want you to be able to see that before the mission begins, so that you know, oh, okay, I have 60 seconds. But if it doesn't update until the frame the mission starts, because it says 0, and then if that suddenly changes to 60 and starts counting down, you're going to look at that and go, wait, what the hell? I thought this was like, why is it counting down? And it's just very sudden and abrupt. But if it showed it like that from the beginning, less ambiguity, and you know, oh, okay, it says 60, and I have like 3 seconds to look at it and go, okay, it says 60. It's probably going to count down, and I can prepare. You can mentally prepare. But if it just says 0, or better yet, if those metrics just aren't on the screen during the countdown, and then they only spawn in the frame the mission starts, and then you realize, oh, time limit, like it's panic. You don't want panic. That's bad. So I want you to telegraph it beforehand, so it goes, oh, okay, that's the parameters I'm up against. And then you crack your knuckles during that 3 seconds, you touch the keyboard and mouse, and then you do the mission. So to get that to work, it's because of this one function. That's why it's not happening. Because when I call that event dispatcher here, let me zoom and show you the step-by-step on what's going on. So this metric, in this case, it's the watch. It knows when the mission is loaded, and it goes, oh, the mission's loaded. Let's call set active with these parameters. And I've checked these both to be on, so it's supposed to load the value from the starting value. But if we open up what this function actually does, it will pass that in, but so right here, it goes, oh, okay, load value is on. If that's true, then call this function with this argument. When you go and do that, though, it opens another set of functions. And go, okay, when load happens, it sets the metric value with these arguments. And then it calls an event dispatcher. Okay, what does this function do? You open that, and right here, that's what's causing the problem. Because it will not load unless it there's certain conditions that have to be met to change a metric. And one of those conditions is active. And it is not active. So this returns false, which means that returns false, which means that doesn't happen, which means that returns false, which means it never actually sets the number, which is why it shows 0. And it never actually loads the metric at all, because it just completely doesn't do this. So the thing is, in most circumstances, that's how we want it, except in this one case. So I have to think about how I'm going to solve that exactly. Maybe, here's an idea. I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but maybe we change it so that to update, so set value, that's the function that just sets the value of the metric. But it needs to have this return true. Maybe we change it so that if overwrite is true, it'll ignore this. So maybe, yeah, we'll do this, where it's like, if either one of these is true. So if this returns false, but if this is true, then it does it. Let's just try that. Hopefully that fixes it. I get the feeling, though, it's going to cause some other unintended thing, and I'm really worried about that, but this is the simplest way I can battle test this theory, and we're going to try it. Just see what happens. Okay, it seems to still not work. Or does it? Yeah, wait a minute. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. So if I go to the act, go to watch, scroll down. Okay, it's supposed to start at 60, and it's supposed to load on when mission loads, and it still isn't loading the value. Okay, so it's definitely more than just that. There's got to be some other problem then. Well, let's leave that for now. Let's put a nail in that. And let's go back. Set value. You know what? I'm just gonna skip this and go here, and I just want to see if that will do it. Just want to see. Because if, okay, it seems like that, so it has nothing to do, it's something earlier then. So this has nothing to do with it. It has to be something that happens earlier in the chain. Let's tick this on and just see what happens. Okay, that still didn't work. Because it should say 1 minute when I instantly start the mission. That's what should happen, and it's not doing that. So that's how I know. Let's just... Oh, why do I have this? Let's get rid of that. Remove. Let's skip and just go straight here and force this on, just to see what happens. Okay, that still doesn't work. Oh, okay, it kind of worked. Almost. You'll notice that it actually loaded the value after the mission was enabled, but it's not quite what I'm after. Let's plug that in and see if we get the same result. Okay, that still worked. So, I just want to see, if I just leave that alone as it was, because I wasn't paying attention to the other metrics. Okay, that's interesting. So it would appear that something about this is not correct. I might have something plugged in wrong. Because if it passes through this, it for whatever reason won't trigger this when it should. So I think it just means I've got one of these in the wrong spot. So if I go mission loaded, load value on mission load, load value from starting value on mission load. Okay, that looks correct. Load value on mission unload, load start value from mission unload, load value on mission end, starting value from mission end, load value on mission started. Okay, that's weird. Unless it's conflicting with something else. Like if I unplug this, if I like disconnect these two and just hit, just to see, it probably won't work. So if we wait for that countdown to finish, yeah, okay. So okay, so you know what that means? It means that these are being interfered with somewhere else. This is interfering with it, I think. Maybe. Let's disconnect this, just to see. Alright, that still didn't work. So that means, at some point, there is some event interfering, or it isn't bound. Maybe. Hold on. Like if I unplug this, just want to see, because if those are being triggered by something else, then I might have a better idea on what's going on. If I go to mission, let's have a read. There's some other, every so often, like this will bug out. I don't know why. Oh, all right. Well, that should be enabled. Oh, okay. So, all right. Well, we can't. Whatever I just did broke everything, so we don't want to do that. So that means if I think it's if I have this one unplugged, then it just completely, yeah, so nothing will load. So what happens if I unplug that? Because what I'm trying to look out for is that there's got to be something that's interfering with this. But oh, not really. That's odd. Because if we pay attention, let me just look at the watch. It should have a start value. Yeah, starting value 60. And if I scroll down, load on mission load from start value. So it should do it, but it doesn't. But if we turn this on, it's called set active on mission loaded. I just want to see what happens here. That might actually, okay, so yeah, see, that's the thing. If you tell it to enable when the mission loads, it will load from the starting value, but it will also just start, like, it'll just start going, and that's not what I want. I want it to load and wait and then start. It can't do that at the moment. So whatever I just did, let me undo that, because we don't want it to enable when mission loads. We want it to not do anything yet. Wait a minute. Hold up. There's one more, hold on. If I go to false, set active on mission loaded, I wonder what happens. Okay, it still doesn't load. And then it never loads. That's really weird. Okay, so there's two problems. Let me just quickly undo what I did and I'll try and write them down to explain. So the issue is, it's like mission metrics won't load if they are inactive. And well, yeah, that's kind of it really, but there's more to it. Well, I guess I just have to look, because that's the thing that's really confusing, is that it should, by all accounts. I think it did work when I skipped this check. It did work. Okay, no, it doesn't. But oh, that's so weird. So it does, but it doesn't? Okay, I have a game theory. I'm gonna try one thing. This is gonna be sloppy as hell, but just a game theory. I might, because I think the issue it is like more complicated than I'm letting on. Maybe not, I don't know now. No, there's something else. I think a possibility is that it is loading when I skip this boolean, but it isn't updating the actual text. That's my theory, but I don't know. What happens? See, because this by all accounts shouldn't, I don't know what's going on there exactly. Because yeah, now it just won't ever load when I plug that in, which is very strange. Oh, wait. Hold on. If I go to mission started, I want to see what happens when I do this. Okay, never mind. It's kind of a weird problem. Very weird. I think, I don't know how to really describe it. It's like loading whatever, for whatever reason, because that is, I don't, let's just try it doing this. And then let's try, okay, I'll be able to explain it in just a moment. I just gotta verify something. It's that one Boolean. Something about it. It's like getting, the wires are getting crossed somewhere. Oh. All right, hold on. I'm cooking. Okay, let me cook. Oh wait, what? Hold on. Oh, I don't know. I don't want it to be this. I don't want it to be this. Okay, so basically, oh dear. Let me just try. I just gotta hit play again and just watch it. Oh dear. I don't know. I didn't want it to be this bad. So okay. Let me explain what's happening. So what's going on is that this is getting ignored. And it just does whatever this one says. And if that reads false... Okay, yeah, no, I've got to go deeper. So... that would explain it, because it's only listening to this. It's ignoring this one completely. Even though the event is firing... I'm pretty sure it's firing. Let's actually verify that. Is that actually firing? Because there's another game theory that I have. Okay, that looks... hold on. I think this is... I just got to see what is... where this is being called. It should be firing. Hold on. Just gotta see. I think it is what that is firing. Okay, that is firing. But this fires. It's supposed to do that Boolean, and it doesn't. Or it does, but not quite. This is true, and then it goes, okay, we tried that, and then it just doesn't get the message. And then when this event happens, it goes, oh well, this one says load false, so we won't load, and that's what it does. So it's almost as if this request to load gets ignored. And I thought it would be this. I'm gonna skip that again. It has to be here. This has to be the problem. If I ignore that, yeah, see, it should load and it doesn't. Yeah, so even, oh, this is so weird. So it's not here, because if I skip that Boolean and just directly plug it, still doesn't work. So that gets ignored still. Unless there's something in the event dispatcher that I'm missing. Set widget value. Okay, no, that doesn't, yeah, so that's fine. I'm just gonna leave that unplugged for the moment. It's something earlier. It has to be. This some set value is not being called when it should be called. Even if I force these on, it's like not doing it. Or wait a sec. If I go on load value, okay, that has nothing plugged into it, so that's really weird. Huh. Okay, we can unplug that then, because that's not doing anything. Let me just replace this just in case. Because it's just that first load is getting ignored. so it never loads. It misses its queue, so to speak. Actually, let me try one more thing. This is going to be a really whack theory. But if I exit the mission and then start it, will it work? No, apparently not. Okay. So, because this, I thought it was because, oh, well, active isn't thing. But even ignoring this, it doesn't do it. It just doesn't. So it's only loading when it's active. But I'm looking at the conditions. Even if I have it not care about if it's active, it still only loads when it's active. And that's kind of weird, I think. I think that is kind of weird. Oh. Hold up. Hold up. Call on set metric active. Okay, that doesn't do anything. Well, just for trial and error's sake, I unplug that. Does it still get ignored? Yes, it still gets ignored. Oh. So it's like the only way this works is if I just skip that, but I can't do that because that's gonna mess up a lot of things. And it still kind of ignores it, kind of. Yeah, no, that doesn't actually solve the problem at all because it's still getting ignored. It's just triggering itself on start because it's forcing itself to do that every time. So that's not the solution either. I'll tick this on though. I just want to try another thing because it could be that that variable isn't doing what I think it is. Okay, no, it is. All right, so it's missing its queue. That's all I know. Everything else is like a mystery. I know that this doesn't matter. It's that it's getting to, so it's not this function even. This function is totally fine. So we can keep that all there. It doesn't make a difference. It's just the actual thing where it gets called is like missing its queue. Let me just go check on the actual parameters that I have set for it. Value on mission load. Because the events are bound. I know that for a fact. Load value on mission load on unload. So that Boolean is true, so it should work. Unless... I'm very sure I had them plugged in the right area. I'm very certain I did. I'm gonna just plug them all in again, just in case. Just to be absolutely sure. Set active on mission load. So yeah, let me just drag those back in. So I just gotta find which variable it is. Load on mission load. Load from start value on mission load. Because, you know, sometimes like the references or whatever get kind of whack. So if I just make sure that those are the right ones. I mean, it looks fine. But you never know. I don't know, man. I mean, that should... Let's see how that... I don't think that'll make a difference. Yeah, it didn't make a difference. Still missing the queue. But the thing gets triggered, though, so that's kind of weird. It's like this gets ignored somehow. How can that be? How can that be? I want to try plug that there and see what happens. Okay, that didn't do anything. All right, so I can ignore that. Because it's not this, because I thought maybe there's some other part of the graph that's interfering, but because it's all in a sequence, it doesn't. Unless, just game theory, I like reorder these and call load first, just to see what happens. I don't know if that'll actually affect anything, but it's worth a shot. Oh, wait. Something's different when I did that. Something did change. What on earth? Well, that didn't... Okay, that is not what I want. That kind of did work, but not really. Maybe I reorder just these bottom ones. Okay, that's back to normal, but it's back to how things were before, so that doesn't... that is weird, though. Very curious. Where it's like, if I put the load first, it will, like, act different. Like, this all gets treated differently. I want to see what happens if I do this. Because it has... I don't know. At least if this doesn't work, I know it absolutely has nothing to do... Okay. So... this has made it kind of harder. I was hoping that this was the problem, where it's like, oh, well, when active is false, it doesn't load. But that actually isn't it. This can be true or false, and it will, like, not change the outcome. So it's weird... Because... Oh, wait. No, wait a minute. We might have to dig a little deeper. Let's go to the children classes. It might be on, and that might be where the issue is. Because I have a lot of function overrides in the children. So if I go to, like, the child version, which tracks ints, because that has it does loading a little differently, that could be it. So if I go set, it might be set int value, I'm not sure. Or if it's, like, load metric. Nah, I don't know. Maybe set int value. Let's have a look. Let's just skip that and see what happens. So that won't change the time, but it might change the score. Oh, all right. So that we're onto something. Oh my god. Okay, that's really weird. Can I? Okay, that's just the same function here then. Curious. So I know what's going on. I figured it out. It's just I got to think of a smart way to get around this. I think what I have to do is I think I have to do that. I did that on the parent class and it didn't work because there's a function override for the children. So I just need to go to the children and do that. I think it was okay. That makes a lot of sense now, actually. So I just need to go to the set value. I think it's here. Yeah. And I just need to, like, because I had done this like 5 minutes ago and it didn't work. Reason is because it didn't propagate, because this function, there's overrides, and there's an important reason why there's overrides. Because, yeah, the way I had it 3 weeks ago was that none of these inherited from each other and they were all separate. Like, every single metric had to be copy-pasted, and that was complete hell to iterate on. And I had bad luck with trying to make it inherited, but I tried again, and it worked. Thankfully. So now all the things are inherited again. But because of that, I have to go in and find the children classes and propagate those changes for the overrides, function overrides. So I have to go to the float type, and I think I just have to change these two, and that should be it. So I go set value. Oh, hold up. Oh no, it's here. Yeah, set float value. And it's gonna look a little messy. I might try and... If this actually solves it, then I'll go and like neaten these a little. but my game theory is that that should do it. So it's just the setInt value function, which does something slightly differently depending on... Okay, it works now, I think. I think that actually works. Hell yeah. So how do I know it worked? Well, pay attention. So you know that thing I explained? Okay, I might have to explain it again because it was like 20 minutes ago. I don't know how many of you are still here, but here's the premise. You got a mission. Let's actually make this actionable. Let's actually give this, we can actually give this a time limit now and have it work. So that's cool. So if I go to the watch, here's the cool setup. I go to the watch on the mission, I scroll down, I go count speed -1, start value 60, and I go there should be a thing called complete on min value. There we go. Now, and then on the mission itself, there should be a thing, a tick box here. I think I have it on already. I'm not sure. I think it's called like end mission on oh no, maybe I don't have it turned on. Oh no, it's on here. Yeah, here, end mission on watch complete. So that means that if the watch reaches the complete state, which I've just configured will happen when it reaches 0, then it ends the mission. And you notice how I was able to just tick a few boxes without having to change the code to have that happen. Pretty cool. So now I'm going to exit the mission and I'm going to start it. Oh, why did the... Oh, no. Wait, I have to hit compile here. Okay, let's do this from the top. So you're walking along, enter the mission. Now, how do I pause it? Hold on, let me restart that. Let's freeze frame, record scratch. Yeah, that's my code. You're probably wondering how it got here. So pay attention to this frame. You notice what's happening? The countdown is going on in the middle, and that's not going to look that way. The countdown's going to look way better in the actual thing. But the metrics on the side are there, and they're actually loaded from the right values. So when you're in that countdown, you can look to the left and go, oh, okay, there's some values that have been filled in here. Now the score and the collectible count being set to 505, that is not, you're never going to see that happen. That's just me testing if that works for those things. You're not going to have score there at the beginning. I'm just testing it. But the watch is set at 1 minute. So you know what my monkey brain thinks when I look at that? I go, oh, I have 1 minute. But before it said 0 and it didn't switch to 1 minute until after that countdown. But now now we've got 3 seconds to like mentally process the fact that there's a time limit. Whereas I didn't have that before. So now if the countdown finishes, then it starts counting down. So it gives you some prep time. You know what I mean? So if I go and restart, it's like, oh, okay, I've got 1 minute. 3, 2, 1, go. And then it starts counting. So that works now. Hell yeah, I can't believe we actually fixed that. That was actually way simpler than I thought it would be. Now I'm gonna just mess around, and I just need to make sure that this all keeps working. Because what should happen next is I'm walking along, and when that timer reaches 0, it should end the mission. So let's just keep messing about and see what happens. I'm just watching the clock to see if that still works. Because if that doesn't work, that's gonna be really funny. But it should work. It should still work. God, the closer it gets counting down, the more nervous I'm getting, actually. It better work. If it doesn't work, I'm going to be very embarrassed. So I'm just messing around with my momentum, waiting for it to count down. If you touch the goal object, it'll end the mission successfully, of course. But if it reaches 0, it should say, game over. Yes, it works. Game over. And then I can retry, and it'll load it back to the value it was at 1 minute. So that's really cool. Isn't that, like, I know it probably doesn't seem that cool to you guys, but to me it seems really cool that it actually works. And if I hit restart, I know that I still have to fix that bug about the movement, and I haven't quite figured that one out yet, but at least the countdown actually resets back to 3 every time I respawn, which wasn't happening last time. And the actual metrics, they aren't active, but they're loaded and they're ready to go. They're locked and loaded, and then they actually activate when the countdown finishes. All right, that sequence works. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. It actually works. That's great. Let's Command Shift S everything. Like, why did I say command? I'm not a Mac user. What the hell am I talking about? Am I becoming a Mac user now? What's going on? So let's save all of that. Let's make sure it still works after I saved it. Okay, it seems to still work. That's pretty cool. Awesome. All right, let's source control. Let's back that up. Let me just go to my other screen here. File, save all. Does the mission and platform work even if you don't meet the metric requirements? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean the end, like the end object? Like, I'll show you what happens when you actually complete the mission properly, if that's what you're wondering. So, when you gotta open those gates by collecting all the things. And then that opens, you can touch that, and it says mission complete. Now, there's still a few bugs. The results screen, I was actually working on that initially before I went down this rabbit hole and trying to fix the whole system. I'm gonna have to come back to that soon because I didn't really finish the results screen. That's what this whole thing started from, eh? I started back on this because I wanted to have a results screen, but then I realized that the framework was just broken, so I redid everything, and now I hopefully will be able to come back to the results screen. But there's a few bugs where it shows like this faded out. Okay, so what that is, that's the countdown timer from the beginning sporting back in on the results screen. I don't know why that's happening, but it is, and it's kind of funny, but I don't want it to. Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. But yeah, you can finish the mission if that's what you mean. Oh, if you get behind, yeah, you can do that too. This is just an example. Yeah, you can just go over it, but that's because I haven't put anything above it. I could block that off, but it's a test scene. I'm not going to bother. What source control do I use? I use plastic because it was cheaper than I used to use source tree, but oh my god, no, never using source tree again. It's probably good for some things. It's not good for what I'm doing, and it costs like too much. So I went to plastic instead. So let me just type a commit message that makes sense. Fixed. Well, what did we actually fix? We fixed this problem. Where it was like watch fixed issue where metrics would not load when mission loaded. If the metrics were inactive. Check in. So we can tick that off now. Now, there's another bug I forgot to write down here. And that is player regains control when respawning during countdown sequence. That's another thing we're gonna have to look into there. I just thought of a way I can solve this. So we might tackle that. And if that doesn't work, I don't know. But I just have an idea. So yeah, I know the rig. Okay, guys, just I can't do everything at the same time. I am planning to do something about, like, I'm not happy with this model, just like you. I think you're the only guy to have actually noticed that there are actually very, very worrying skinning problems on this model. And that's because I made this like 2 years ago when I didn't know what I was doing. Now, well, yeah, that's going to be a lot of work. And I don't even know if I'll get time. I want to make time to redo all of this, because this, I could do so much better than this now. But that, because you got to be careful, man. Like, you know, like, there might be other things that become a priority besides the skinning. Might sound, now that might sound crazy, because you might say, oh, well, you just fix it. But it's like, I don't think you realize how difficult that might be to fix. Like, trust me, if it were that easy, I would have fixed it already. And that's because when I was making this, I was learning a lot about rigging. And even, actually, there's still a lot of rigging bugs that you guys haven't noticed about the other characters too. But we're not gonna, we don't talk about those ones. But yeah, I want to try and fix that, but that could get very time consuming. And it's not a high priority right now. It will become one later, but at the moment, there are higher priorities than fixing the tail. So let me just think. What was I about to do? Oh yeah, so I came up with a way to fix this problem. I need to go to the mission component for this. So this component, I know it looks big and like, just don't get intimidated. I know it's big and scary. Don't worry about it. We're only going to focus on one specific area. And that is, this is kind of a hacky way, but it actually might solve the issue. I need to find respawn. It's right here. I think this is the issue. So what I need to do is I need to make this more complicated. So I need to... Is skipping frames on the model animation stylistic? Yes, it is. I have a whole video series on my channel about that very process. I'm glad you appreciate it. It was hard. There's still a bit of polish I want to do, but yeah, the character isn't really a top priority at the moment. Thanks. How do I pronounce that? Meg Ha Boy. That's an interesting place to put a H. I appreciate that though. Thanks. How are we doing today? Actually, not bad. Not bad. Devlog inspired me to learn Unreal. It was too hard for me and didn't find enough tutorials. Yeah, I know, man. Like, I think I went on a bit of a rant like a few streams ago about tutorials. Yeah, it's hard out there because I think it's like to summarize my kind of thoughts on tutorials. Because there's a reason I don't do tutorials very often. And that's because, like, for a lot of the time, they're great for like game jams, and that's it. Like, if you want to actually do something serious, you kind of just have to figure it out on your own. Like, no one's, because of the, you know, as you commit more and more to a project, the needs of the project become more and more specialized, and that it becomes less likely to find in some random tutorial. So it becomes this thing where the more you get into your project, the less helpful, like the less advice you can listen to, because a lot of it is very general. And if you get past a certain point, general advice will just not work on you anymore because of the specifics. Because you've built up now a whole thing of variables that apply to your specific project. And I'm not talking about programming variables. I'm just talking about factors that just come about through development. There's going to be variables that you have to deal with that other devs won't, and no tutorial will ever be able to account for that because it's so specific. It's always so specific to whatever you're doing. So that kind of makes it hard with tutorials, and that's why I kind of avoid them now, because when I look up how to do something, it'll show you how to do it, but in like the worst way. It shows you like the bare minimum, no effort way to do something. And I'm at the stage now where I can't afford to do things half-assed like that. Like I have to do it correctly. And correctly isn't an absolute. That depends entirely on the specifics of what you're doing, which makes everything very atomized, right? Because it makes it so that you basically have to fend for yourself. That's not something that bothers me too much, because I've actually managed to like solve a lot of those problems. Despite, I know it's taken a lot of time and suffering, but I actually like, I'm getting through this, you know? Like, no one's gonna have this in a tutorial, and I'm getting through it. And I'm not, you know, I'm not complaining. That's just how it is. Like, I accept that that's what it's like. I think that's why a lot of people probably get very discouraged after that initial excitement, where it's like, oh, the new project, oh, this is gonna be so fun. And then after like 2 months, it's like, ugh, I just want to do something else. And then they, you know, I think that happens. It used to happen to me a lot. And I think it's because you reach that threshold where tutorials just, you can't rely on someone else to like do the thinking for you, and you have to do it. And that's where a lot of people decide that it's just, you know, I could commit and see this through, or I could start a new project and have someone else think for me with tutorials until I reach the brick wall there and then have to start over. You know, and that used to happen to me. That's just kind of like a barrier that exists. And, you know, that's just it. I'm not saying it's like a bad or good thing. That's just sort of what happens from my experience. Which is why, yeah, I tend not to like, I'm streaming this stuff, but there's a reason why I'm not asking every one of you right now to like tell me what to do, because I don't expect you to know how to work within this system, because I spent like months building it. Like all of this, I doubt at a glance you'll be able to look at it and go, oh yeah, I know exactly how that works and how that affects everything else in the game. Because no, and you don't need to know that. Only I need to know that. So, you know, that's why I tend not to like I tend not to ask for advice unless I know the exact right person to go to with the exact right question, I do that. You know, it's not that I don't get help. I do. I just don't like wasting the wrong person's time with it. So that's why you don't see me in like, hold on, I got a bit off track there. I got to add some variables. But yeah, that's why you don't see me in like Unreal Slackers trying to ask for advice, because it's like, I don't expect these guys to like understand. Like, hell, even if they do get it, they're going to suggest that I redo it in some better way, and I just don't have time. So most of the time it's just not helpful. And it's like, I just have to kind of rely on myself. And that's fine. That's just how it is. But that, I think for a lot of people, if you get far enough, you will reach that point as well. And it's kind of, you know, it doesn't sound very exciting, but I think if you can get to that point, then you'll be capable of finishing it. I think if you can even get there, that's at least that's what I believe. But anyway, a bit of a tangent. Oh, here we go. Okay, I have to make like a rule to just not ask me about UE5 because I've answered this like maybe a dozen times now. Yeah, people who say it's easy are wrong. I'm just gonna flat out say it. Anyone who tells you that, oh, just port, it's easy, they're wrong. Unless it's some like project they made in an hour, then it's never. Trust me, it is no. It's just not. It's not that simple. And also, I don't need UE5. It's great. I don't need it. It doesn't have anything I need. I have everything I already need and more. I haven't even scratched the surface of what UE4 is capable of. So I don't feel a particular need to upgrade because everything works fine. Like, if there are problems in the project, it isn't Unreal's fault for being not advanced enough. It's usually my fault for just not knowing how to use it. So the way I see it is Unreal 4 has been around longer than Unreal 5. So yes, while it lacks in cutting edge features, it makes up for instability. And I value that more than cutting edge features because I don't really care about cutting edge features like ray tracing. What the hell am I going to use that for? I'm making an anime game. I have no use for RTX. I have no use for nanite. I have no use for all the stuff that everyone else is excited for. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be excited for that stuff. You should be excited if it interests you and you actually have a use for it. But if you're just excited about it because it's new, I think that's a really bad reason to upgrade. If in the context of like what I'm doing, if you're like working on a commercial project that you have a deadline for, if you're just messing around, then I don't care. But if you're like, you have a commitment and upgrading solves no problems, then it's literally like illogical to upgrade if it doesn't actually solve any problems. It will create more problems though, and I know that for a fact because every time I've upgraded UE4, even to minor versions of UE4, it has always caused a problem. So my solution is to just not upgrade because upgrading has never actually helped. It's always just caused more issues. So it's like, you know, you either spend the time fixing it and have the cutting edge tech that you're not going to use, or just don't do it. So what's the simplest of those two options? I know what I'm picking, right? So it's just, I just won't upgrade because I don't need to. And then problem solved. I don't have to think about it. And that's like weeks of time saved as a result. And that's, you know, that's cool. Because, yeah, I'm not going to use nanite. I have no use for it. Anyway, sorry. I needed to plug in a variable here. I got a bit off track there. Game. So there's a few. Enable input on. Oh, wait a sec. Okay, here we go. Okay, I need to get mission active, and then I need to get there's a bunch of input booleans that I need to check. Enable auto set input on load mission. Let's just I might have to get a few of these out here. Load, stop movement on load mission. Okay, I don't need that one. Set input on unload mission. I might need these. So we're going to group some of these together. So there's auto set input on load mission on input state, auto set input on unload mission input state. Unload, let me just read. Auto set input on reset? Okay, I might not need that one. Or will I? I don't know. No, I don't think I won't need that one. Stop movement, auto set input on start mission input state, end mission input state. Okay, this might be kind of tricky actually. Because there's a lot of factors to consider. Because whether or not we give the player back input depends on these. And there's a lot of variables, eh? That's a lot. So how do we actually do this smart? Because I feel like there's got to be some way to do this. Because the issue that I'm trying to fix. Let's wind back a little because I'm probably lost some of you guys. Let's hit play. Oh, everything broke. Wait a sec. I know what to do. Mission. Gotta turn that off. Alright, so here's what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna save everything. So every time I compile that, it's gonna like, okay. So, issue is, during the countdown sequence, I'll restart it so you guys can see. I should not be able to move while that's going on, because I want there to be an animation that plays, which I don't have yet, but I will eventually. That's gonna play, and I don't want to be able to move Gabby while the countdown is going. I only want her to start moving until after the countdown's finished and the mission is actually active. Here's the bug. Because I have a key, or, well, yeah, so I have a key binding to R, and R will respawn Gabby using the health system. So if I hit R, Gabby will respawn and it restarts the mission. But if you respawn while that countdown is going, Gabby can move. So that's what we're trying to fix. And the reason that's happening is because of this one function that is bound to the respawn event, because this is the mission system. It is bound to when Gabby respawns. And if this is on, which it is, it means no matter what context, the input will turn itself back on when Gabby respawns. And that's, no, we don't want that. We want it to carefully consider the context first before doing this. And these are the amount of variables it has to consider. So, yeah, so that's gonna be fun. How do we, because there's a few different things that'll happen, right? So these booleans will trigger themselves at certain events. So when the mission loads, so when the countdown happens, there's booleans. If auto set input on mission load, actually, maybe I should change these to not be booleans. They should be enums, probably. But, do I want to risk changing that now? Because this is going to get, this might, Time to re-download Unreal. Hell yeah, man. You can do it. I think you can do it. Yeah, side character. Yeah, he knows what's up. Yeah, it's funny how everyone who like thinks, at least in my experience, because I like in real life, people will like when I meet up with friends and stuff, because they kind of are, they're not really into the game dev scene, but they follow the news, and they'll like ask me like unironically like, "Oh Ray, have you upgraded? You should upgrade." And it's like, no, you don't understand. You can't just hit upgrade. Like it isn't that simple. And it's funny trend I've noticed where everyone who I've met that believes it's simple has never actually done it. And everyone who has actually done it agrees with me, saying that it is not that simple. So that's just an interesting little trend, little anecdotal research that I have done that I've noticed. Maybe make it not let you respawn. Well, see, here's the thing. There might be a valid reason to have you respawn during that. To prevent the respawn, I think I explained yesterday, it's kind of a band-aid fix, because you never know what'll happen, right? In a certain level. It might be the case that when you start a mission, let's say you're in this state, and then a random physics object glitches out somewhere, because who knows, it might happen, and it hits Gabby and completely demolishes Gabby. I want like that to kind of restart then. But yeah, in this specific case, it will like, yeah, it'll let her move if that happens. So the problem, because I mean, yeah, if you look at the way this function is, this should not be doing, it should not be making this command in the first place, because it's just telling it, because this also might, because if you can like read between the lines, we don't know where else this is being called, like, or when in what context this will also, because this, we're only noticing this bug because it's happening in one specific case, and I'm triggering it on purpose. But there might be other sets of conditions where this bug can occur too, that just making it with the, you know, having it not respawn or whatever will not solve. Because there might be other cases where input is disabled at another point in the mission for another reason. And I could explain like 10 other contingencies, but there'd be no point, because it's like, it's like very hypothetical. But I know that this is like a very dangerous call to make, and I should avoid doing this because this is likely to cause a problem later. And like, I can't explain the specific problems that it will cause because they haven't happened yet, but I have a gut feeling that this will cause problems later if I leave this as it is. I think I should like put in the work and not band-aid it and actually make this smart so that it doesn't, it like thinks about what it does before it. So actually, if we open up this function, maybe we should add it here. It has like a smart, intelligent little thing here, perhaps. So maybe we do have it so that so that we don't have to be delicate about calling this thing. But then when we do call it, the function itself will think before it takes action. So we might actually move all of this down to the actual event, so that the event can be called carelessly wherever the hell you want. But when it is called, it will do the thinking itself and go, okay, is this what we actually should do right now? Because it has to factor in some decisions before it sets input. Because I think that, yeah, that's probably a better way to look at it, I think. Because if we look at this update pawn input, it will literally just go, okay, and then it just sets it. It doesn't consider the context at all. And it probably should, so that we can avoid issues like what we have here, and whatever future ones might come up. So, but it has to consider these variables. So I'm trying to think if there's a smart way where it can just kind of know somehow. Because I was going to think to do something like if and this and or this, but I think that's going to not work. I just have a feeling that that's going to get complicated if I have a bunch of and ors going about. I just get the feeling that won't work. There's got to be, I just got to think for a second. Update pawn input. Wait, what's this? Oh, okay, that should, What's this? Call on update pawn input. Oh, that's okay, ignore that. That's on the player controller. We should do this in the mission itself. So it has to be before this. It has to be here. It has to be like before all this. Let me just think. I'm just trying to make some room for what I think should go, because there's gonna have to be something that goes here that does a little bit of fact. I guess that's what it is. It's fact checking, going, hey, do we actually want to do this here or not, depending on these conditions. I just gotta think. There's gotta be a better way to like factor these without having to just explicitly whatever combination. Let's have a look at when these actually get set. Load emission. Yeah, this is like before I knew about sequence nodes, and if I knew about them, I would have organized this visually a lot better, but oh well. Here we go. So this is the, what is this? Load mission. It does all this stuff. It does that. It does that. It does that. It does that. UI stuff, blah, blah, blah. Then it goes here. This is, wait a minute. Okay, so this is the spawning. So if respawn player on reset mission, it will like set a new spawn point, and then it moves on to set input on load mission is true. It updates pawn input. Stop movement on load emission. I'm just thinking. Because I was thinking maybe we have a variable that just gets set whenever this like a should have input boolean, and that gets set all across the blueprint. I think that would be a good idea. So I'll make a boolean called b player input enabled, and I'll tooltip this to mean whether player can input or can receive input, because this is going to depend on a lot of things that happen in a lot of places. Yeah. Oh no, we don't. No, we want to. This is like a super secret variable. This is going to get set by itself, and I'll put this at the top. Oh wait, I moved something out of order that I wasn't supposed to. I think, oh, you know what? That variable was meant to do that. This is actually supposed, I already thought of this, but I just didn't implement it properly. Okay, so this variable here is actually supposed to like, do what I want, but it is stupid. It won't actually, yeah. So I already made a variable that's supposed to do that. Okay, well, let's use that then. I'm going to move this back to the bottom as like a placeholder in case that idea ends up not working, because I actually don't know where this is being used. So let's find references, and it's only being used twice. And it's being used, okay, well, it's not going to do anything there, obviously. So we should skip this. Now, I don't know if this will break anything, but we'll try. You gotta be smart about this. So we just need to like drag and drop this and put it in places where the input is being set. Set input on load mission. So if that is true, load mission input state. What is this? Call on update pawn input. Find references, because we might want to set it there. Let me just, oh, it's being called in a lot of places. Whoa. Oh. Is that actually a, oh, okay, that's on the, okay, well, we can't really, that is part of a different blueprint, that. So what we will do is whenever this is called, we will call this too, and we will plug that in. Now, this is sloppy. I know it doesn't look pretty, but we'll get to that. We're just going to test flight this variable and actually use it the way it should have been used this whole time and see if that actually does anything. So let's go on a little adventure around the whole blueprint. And yeah. Would you suggest starting UE4 or 5? I don't know. I honestly haven't thought about it. Okay, I don't want to mess with that one. I think, do I have it everywhere? I think there's just, okay, it's just this one. All right, so now that, because the idea is this Boolean gets set whenever the input state is changed. So that means on whatever the last input state was, that's what we want to do, right? So instead of all this, we just need 1. Enable input on respawn. Which, oh, okay, because it feeds into that anyway. So, let's try that. See what happens. Oh dear. Oh, okay, I gotta, because I've compiled the mission component and it's overridden some of the, because there's 2 missions active at once, because one of them will turn itself on if I compile that. Let's try that again. So I've hit, oh, okay, that bug still happens. Huh. Well, here's, okay, there might be another reason why that's happening, but just for example's sake, I want to see what the actual value of this boolean is whenever we hit respawn, just to test it. So it's true. Okay, that's not good. It shouldn't be true. Oh, that's because this bugged out again. So we gotta go turn that off. It's still true. That should not be true. It's always true. Oh, that's not good. Not good. Unless... maybe... oh, because it's... I'll turn it... because it was on by default, so I'll turn it off. Okay, now it's false. Oh, but it's it doesn't set itself back on. Oh. That's interesting. Okay, well that kind of didn't solve anything. But it's called 3 times for some... I don't know why it's being called 3 times. It's really weird. Oh, no, it's probably because there's 3 missions. That's why. Let me just read. Respawn play on reset mission. That's true. Load mission input state. Mission loaded. Mission load. Okay, let me just have a... let me analyze where this is actually... I just gotta pay attention. On end of mission input state, so that should be set to false. It's like... I don't know how to really explain this. How do I explain it? It's like, yes, but no. I don't know if that'd make any sense, did it? I need to check. It means that the function has to be coming from somewhere else. I believe that's what it would be. Call on update pawn input. Is upgrading Feline... oh my god. I think we got more people just joining because we literally just went through this like 10 minutes ago. It's complicated. I won't say it's hard, but I will say that it is highly likely to just be inconvenient. I'd be in agreement with Titan Can there about UE4 having more features. Think about it. You know, Unreal, how many big studios rely on Unreal versus the amount that rely on Unity? Most of the time it's Unreal. Reason for that. That's kind of all you need to say. But yeah. You know what? Because I get asked this so much, I should probably like just I should really kind of like make a video about why I'm not upgrading to UE5. I think because I think in this one stream I've been asked that question about, I want to say 4 times, but it could be 5. Sorry, I'm sorry if I sound annoyed, by the way. I don't mean to come off that way. I'm just like stressed. So if I come off as annoyed, I don't mean to. I'm just a little stressed out. But it's nothing personal. It's nothing to do with you guys. You guys are great. Okay. Wait, just let me think for a minute. So if I wait to respawn after this mission thing is done. Okay, so I think that Boolean kind of works, but it doesn't do anything. So I need to look at, there's one thing I just need to check. Get owner. I'll get display name. I just want to see, because there's a few different missions that are like in the scene that are inactive that are still triggering this print string. So I just want to make sure of something. Oh, there we go. Rank, mission. I don't want to load that one. Oh, interesting. So I don't know why it's like calling that function like 3 times for some reason. Very curious. I wonder why that is. And it seems to always be... It's always the same answer too, which is really weird. Like if I wait for this to finish and then hit R, it's true, true, and false. I don't know why. I don't know what that means exactly. But that's probably not a good thing. Oh, wait. No, wait. I need to call this somewhere else, because this is just every time the input gets set. So I need to move this over to the because I just wanted to check respawn. That's literally all I wanted to, like, check. So I'll put it here instead. Oh, wait, I gotta do the thing. Mission... turn off. Okay, let's try. So it says false. And when I hit respawn, it should say false again. Okay, no, it still calls repeatedly. That is so weird. I wonder why. And then it just doesn't... Oh... I don't... Oh... Add it to the FAQ. Yeah, I probably should do that, but I don't think most people read the FAQ. I think you're like the only person that's ever mentioned the FAQ on stream. Timed 5 delay. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. Look, guys, I'm not like don't backseat dev, okay? Like I know it's not. If you think that it's simple, then you don't get it, okay? Just let me do it. It's my job to fix it. I will. Because this being called and it not being called is... I don't know how to explain it, because in my head, my neurons are all firing off, and I remember like code from I wrote like a year ago that this is affecting. So I'm not doing a great job at explaining it, and I know, but it's like I'm just trying to like get through it and get work done. But yeah, if I have a question though, I will absolutely ask it. But I don't have a question right now about how to solve this, because I need to figure it out. But yeah, adding a delay is not gonna fix anything. It's just gonna add a delay. I don't really see how that's gonna solve anything. Because can I try and explain what I'm thinking? It's just complicated, because the reason it's complicated and the reason why I don't like post on forums and ask for help for this kind of stuff is because in my little, because I have like 10 tabs in my brain open right now about theories on why this isn't working. And a lot of those are related to code and functions that I wrote like 12 months ago that I haven't shown anyone. Like this function then goes into this function, which then calls something else, which we haven't even talked about yet. And I think it's something in here, it's going to cause some issue. But I also want to figure out why that this is... Because the other thing that's concerning to me is the reason why this is the fact that this gets called repeatedly. I don't know why it gets called 3 times. I don't think I'm calling it 3 times. Because if you look at the little print string at the top, it's calling itself 3 times with the, like, true, true, false, and I don't know why. But it means... Because it isn't calling itself here when it should be calling itself. And that's the interesting thing, because it means that the event dispatcher to the respawn is unbound. And if I added a delay, that wouldn't solve that problem at all, because it has nothing to do with a delay. It's that this event doesn't get called when it should. It's being unhooked somewhere, and I need to figure out if that's supposed to happen or not, because there might be a reason it has to do that. And I wrote, like, this whole thing, this entire blueprint was written like in the span of a few months, and this was like last year I wrote this. So I have to like look closely at it and try and remember what everything was supposed to do. I know I've got comment bubbles that kind of describe it, but you know, I'm not like a programmer main. Okay, like I do a lot more work than like programming, so I have to like get recalibrated, and then it'll click, and I'll go, oh, okay, yeah, now I remember. But it just takes me a little bit to get there, because I did write all this, so I know that I can figure it out. It's just because this was like a year ago where I like put this together, and then the whole funding thing came up, and then the whole level design thing came up. And I got like completely sidetracked on that stuff. And now I'm coming back to this after that has all happened. So if I don't look familiar with this, it's probably why, because I have not been thinking about this code for like a year. But I gotta check something. It's the way the event dispatchers are being bound. There's got to be something that binds this to health events. And there's got to be something that's like unbinding them at some point, and it's like doing it in a way that's like interfering with my current goal. But I either have to like remove that barrier, or I have to work around it, and I haven't figured out what I need to do yet, because I got to find where this is happening. So what I'm looking for is bind. Here we go. Bind player dispatches. So what this function will do, because this is the mission. The mission can react to player events. So if the player dies, the mission can reset itself, things like that. That's what this does. Problem is that it binds and it unbinds. And there's a reason it needs to do those things at certain times, but we won't go too into specifics on that because it's complicated. But for example, like when the mission ends and the player dies, you don't want to trigger the game over screen. So what you do is you unbind the mission from the health when you finish the mission, so that if Gabby accidentally dies, then the mission just doesn't care, it doesn't listen to it. So things like that. There's a lot more things, but that's just one example. If we then go to... because here's the thing. It uses this boolean called bind to determine whether we unbind or bind. I need to find all references to this where it's being called, because it is apparent to me that it isn't at the start of that mission when the countdown's happening, it isn't bound, and it should be bound, but it isn't. So I need to figure out, first of all, where it should be bound, and second of all, if it should be bound, because there might be a reason why it shouldn't. Because usually when I come back to code and I'm like, oh, why does it work that way? Most of the time that's deliberate and I forget why. And then I remember, oh, I did that on purpose because of, some reason. Like that's, some specific thing. So that's the thing that's the constant minefield I'm always working around when revisiting code. Is that, oh, this works weird. And then I realize that it works weird on purpose. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks, Past Ray. But I end up forgetting because my memory is terrible. So let's find references to this and see where this is getting called. So this gets called when the mission starts. It gets called when the mission ends. It gets called when the... Oh, okay, I think I found the culprit. I don't think it should... This is definitely part of the problem. Okay. Okay. All right. So here's the next predicament. So the reason why that print string, because here's the thing. Let me try and explain it again. Oh, hold on. So when the mission starts and that print string comes up, because that print string is supposed to tell me whether the input should be enabled again. And you notice that it fires multiple times, which is one problem. But the other problem is that it won't fire again until after the mission has begun first. And then because during this state, it's unbound. That's not good. But here's where it gets kind of complicated. So the reason that's happening is because when you hit on reset mission, which is what happens when I hit R, it will unbind from health and it'll stop listening to health. So whenever this function it won't call this function anymore, where it knows to block your input if you try and respawn when the mission is inactive, if you want the input to be disabled when the mission loads. Because that's the thing, there's a specific set of conditions that have to be met. And the issue is that this function it doesn't do it that well, but in theory, it's supposed to like check. That's what this boolean was supposed to be for, is that this boolean is basically the gatekeeper of, are the conditions cleared to enable input again? But this gets completely ignored until after the mission has started. Which only, and the important distinction here is that the mission loading and the mission starting are different things. They're different states. I want it to listen to this while the mission has, well, no, wait a minute. In this specific case, I want it to listen to the player health events during the countdown. So that when the countdown happens and you respawn, it listens for that and goes, oh, we've respawned. And when we start the mission, when we load the mission, we want to disable player input. So when you respawn again, because by default, it'll try and enable your input again, which is what's happening. But we want this function to kick in and say, okay, no, we block that input because we don't want it to be active yet during the countdown. Except this function never gets called during the countdown, because it is not bound to the health respawn event, because the bind does not happen until after the mission starts. Now here's where it gets freaky. The thing is, in every other scenario, we want it to be unbound while the mission is inactive. Except here. And that's why I'm like, it's like, what the hell do I do about this? That's kind of where it gets like, how do you even like, I don't know how do you even solve that problem, right? So, that I might have to come up with some new thing to do that, maybe. But at least I kind of I didn't know why this was happening at the start of the stream, but at least now I know why it's happening. So I just don't know what I'm going to do about that. It's complicated. See, that's why it's like, yeah, that's why it's like, yeah, it's complicated. Why do I use, what are the benefits of bind nodes? Well, they're great, because you can, like, when an event triggers, you can trigger another event to happen with it. It's basically lets blueprints listen to each other, and that comes in real handy for stuff like this. Imagine a bunch of people playing with the loop each other and doesn't know what the last... Yeah, exactly. That would get so chaotic. But I don't know. This is a tough... this is actually quite tough, this problem. But I know I can figure it out. It's just... I'm going to have to let it simmer, I think. So, Let me just write down what it is, though, so I don't forget. But I might try and move on to another bug and just let this cook in the background, and I'll probably come up with something. So I'll make like a... Can I make like a sub-note in here? I don't know how to... yeah. I'm just going to add a note down here. So the issue is... Wait, well, no, we fixed one of these, didn't we? We did fix that. Metrics won't load if they... So that now works. But how do I explain this? So the issue is... the issue is that... Because it's really hard to explain. That's why that's why I hate this stuff. It's just, you can't summarize it in like an elevator pitch. You have to like explain the health system, and then you have to explain the mission system, and then you have to explain the specific set of conditions. So it's like, how do I worded it fine like 10 minutes ago. I just gotta think. So the issue is, there is a Boolean. Once upon a time, there was a Boolean, which determines whether player input should be re-enabled. This Boolean is passed as an argument when the mission detects that the player has respawned. The Boolean will then block player input from reactivating after respawning, depending on its value. But while the mission is loaded but inactive, the respawn event is unbound. That's the problem. But you notice how it took me like a freaking paragraph to explain it. So let me just read it again so that I don't know if I can word this better. So here's the issue, okay? Grab a hot chocolate, all right? Once upon a time, there was a Boolean, which determines whether player input should be re-enabled. Wait. No, not exactly. It's more specific than that. Should be re-enabled when the mission is reloaded, or whether the player... No, I think it's just when the player respawns. When the player respawns while mission is loaded. Yeah, okay, so once upon a time, there was a Boolean which determined... I write it in past tense so it sounds more cool. Which determined whether player input should be re-enabled. Oh, let me start again. Once upon a time, there was a Boolean which determined whether player input should be re-enabled when the player respawns while the mission is loaded. This Boolean is passed as an argument when the mission detects that the player has respawned. The Boolean will then block player input from reactivating. Hold on. The Boolean will then block player input, or I'll word this different. We'll block the player from receiving input after respawning, depending on its value. No, I can word that better. The Boolean will then either allow or block the player from receiving input after respawning, depending on its value. But while the mission is loaded but inactive, the respawn event is unbound, thus never triggering the check, which utilizes this Boolean. Because the Boolean gets passed into that event, which then does stuff with it, and that function never happens before the mission is loaded. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk. That is the user story simplified version of what's going on, and it is the biggest thing in this whole list. So we might shelve this for another time, because that is complicated as hell. And I will reiterate that adding a delay timer would absolutely not address this whatsoever. So we will put that at the bottom of the list because I have no idea where I'm gonna have to like think that one over for a while before I come up with an actual like plan of action. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, well, this is all the same. Player regains control, yeah. So I'll just, I'll add that to here. And, well, I want to reorder this. So metrics won't load if they, so that's fixed. Well, I mean, these two were kind of the same problem, but they were kind of two different things. So we can have those ticked off. The other problem that I could probably actually try and fix is this thing where the gate spawns that big metric over the screen sometimes. Maybe we can try that out. And then I have to remind HQN to buy a copy of the game when it comes out. That's the last thing on the list. So I don't know. We'll shelve that because that's complicated. We'll come back to that. Let's just save what we got, though. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think that one over. I'm gonna have to, like, change stuff on the player controller to get that to play nice. Let's just save. Because I think, yeah, what I have here doesn't really make a difference. I just have a new print string that comes up now, which I guess will remind me that the bug is there. But what we need to do is make it okay. Let me like demonstrate the next item on the agenda. So here's the next problem. This hopefully should not be hard, but I mean, I always say that, and sometimes I'm wrong. So I don't know. Let's just make sure everything's saved. I've just done something okay. So we're gonna make this one change, and the bug will now happen. So I need to complete this mission. And then when I restart the mission after I've completed it, you'll notice something weird. So the gate opens, I hit the thing, great. Then I hit restart and watch this. What on earth is that? What is this? Ooh, what's going? What's this big little number on the HUD going on? What's happening? So here's the next bug. Okay, the gate. Because remember how I'll say this again. At the very beginning of the stream, I said that these metrics can be bound to anything. And here's an example in the flesh. So that mission has metrics on it that track things, but these gates to open with the cogs uses the exact same system. So if we click on one of these gates, we zoom in a bit, we go to int counter. It has an int counter on it. And we scroll down, and we have it, this bug we fixed yesterday, where it actually does enable itself when the mission begins. So these gates will not do anything if there is no mission active, but the minute a mission is active, it then turns on its counter, and the counter has a maximum value of 10. And I have it configured complete on max value, so that when 10 is reached, it will trigger the doors to open. Now, how do we get it to count to 10? How does that number increment? Because it starts at 0. How does it increment to 10? Well, I'm glad you asked, because if we go to one of these cogs, click on one of these bad boys, we go look at what's on this guy, and this cog has a metric binder on it called gate binder. And it will do this because there's two gates. Because I did it deliberately to have two gates to test if it would work on multiple objects, and it does. So we have bound this gate binder to two actors with two sets of values. And the way this works is the gate binder will trigger when the cog is collected. When the cog is collected, it'll cast to the int counters on these actors and add 1 to each of them. And if you collect 10 cogs, it will open the gate. But there's something I tried to do. Because the thing about these as well, because you might say, oh, that's really cool. I had no idea that that was like happening because it's all invisible. Yeah, kind of. And you'll notice that like in the mission, you know, it's a lot more obvious what's being tracked. Because if I go and hit play with the mission active, it's like you've got all these numbers on the screen and stuff. Like, oh, there's my score, there's my cog counter and everything. The thing is that functionality isn't exclusive to the missions. You can, well, in theory, you're supposed to be able to have objects like the gate put one of those metrics on the screen as well. So as I explained, these gates take 10 cogs to open. And what they're supposed to do is when I've got it turned on for one of them so that when it is activated, it should spawn a metric on the HUD that says 0 out of 10 cogs. And when we collect a cog, it'll increment and say 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. Because the thing is, that's happening behind the scenes, but you can't see it. And the HUD metric that it's supposed to spawn is supposed to like clue you into that. But you'll notice that the metric spawns, but only after you restart the mission for some reason. And it takes up the whole screen. So and this is the result from the last run we just did, where it says 10 out of 10 collected. So that's supposed to be there in the small part of the HUD the whole time, and it isn't. So that's the next bug, and I don't really know why that's happening. I have a few theories why, but we'll try and quickly investigate, but I won't spend too much longer today on stream, so we'll just see what we come across in the next, like, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, and on that topic of dispatches, yeah, it's a lot more, well, it's not just more efficient than casting, you can just do more with it than casting. Like casting, you can't listen for things, and event dispatches you can. So a quick example, because I just explained that the gate will open when the int counter completes. And you're like, well, how the hell does that work? Event dispatches, that's how. At least I think it's event dispatches. It might be functions, but you can, I think it is event dispatches. Like if I open the gate, so there's, because the thing is about these gates is that you can set them to like auto open as well. But yeah, here's an example. So on complete metric, I think that's it. Oh no, it's this one, sorry. So on set metric complete int counter, that's an event dispatcher. And this is controlled entirely by the metric. And that takes care of all that stuff. It will just trigger this dispatcher when that threshold is reached. And the gate, all you have to do to get the gate to do stuff is just put this event in and then just give it a thing to do. So I just call set open. If I unplug that, and if you collected all 10, it wouldn't open. So it's literally as simple with event dispatches. You can just say, hey, you know, like if we go look at the int counter, for instance, like we have a lot of events that we only have one of them active, set metric complete, but we can also have it so that every time that metric gets updated, we can play like the Vine Boom sound effect. Like we can do stuff like that. Or every time the player is like reloads a checkpoint, we can have it trigger something. These are all the event dispatches that I've configured. And these, they all know when to trigger. That's all handled somewhere else. On the gate, though, is when we can use these to trigger other events. So it listens for this on complete, and then it takes action. And you can't really do that with casting. Casting you wouldn't use for this. Casting is like a completely different thing. But anyway, so that's just a little thing about event dispatches and why they are the best, why they are cool. It's basically like how it's allowing blueprints to react to each other, basically. Now let me think. I need to look at something. I need to look at the int counter. Slot widget in HUD is true. Maybe it's ID. I don't know. Maybe it's this. Not sure. Because this is the stuff that controls the widget spawning. It's supposed to. These indexes. Don't worry about those. I know what they do. This configuration is basically supposed to spawn it in the middle of the screen. That's what's supposed to happen. It uses HUD panels. If you know what HUD panels are, then you get it. But I'm not. This is not a UI class, so I'm not gonna go off into that today. Set widget active. Set widget visibility. Set widget active on activate. Visibility on activate. Widget visibility on deactivate. Okay, I'm gonna have to go and check on what this specific, because I think I have it changed on the instance. So if I go on the specific instance of this gate and check through the list, widget, HUD panel index, set widget active on activate. I'm gonna go true. Set widget visibility, we can just ignore that. Active on deactivate, I will go false. Widget active on complete, I will go, I think that's false by default. Widget active on begin play, we just ignore. Widget visibility on begin, we ignore. Set widget active on death, it ignores, and respawn, it ignores. Okay, that looks reasonable. Set active on mission load. Mission started. Set widget active on oh, okay, maybe we might be onto something. I'm gonna just widget active on mission load. I'm gonna go neither. So neither will just skip this function. Whether to create user mission is loaded, because I don't want it to depend on this stuff. Widget when mission is unloaded will go neither. Widget active on mission start. On mission end. Okay. Widget activate. Bind on deactivate. Bind on definite value on respawn. So I think if I tick one of these on, it will basically like reset this value back to whatever it was at the last checkpoint when the player dies. Because yeah, each metric, even if it's on the mission or not, it can listen for the player health events. So it can know when players die and stuff. So I don't know, I feel like maybe I just had a few of those things set wrong. Oh yeah, wait. Okay, no, that didn't work. Or did it? Okay, I don't think that worked. Let's just see what happens. Oh, well, okay, well, it's not spawning a huge thing over the screen anymore, at least. So that's good. Alright, but now it's just not spawning it ever, which is not good. So let me examine that again. So if I look closely at it, widget active on activate, widget active on deactivate. Well, let me just look at when this, because they are active, because they were responding. Neither. So maybe I'm gonna try this. Maybe it's just being conflicting with something. Okay, maybe not. It is kind of weird. All right, I'm gonna try one thing, because I think that countdown might be interfering, because it takes up the same place on the HUD that should be, and I get a hunch that that could be causing an issue. So I'm gonna turn the countdown sequence off for the time being, just for testing. It'll save us some time too, because we won't have to wait for the countdown. So if I open the mission, I go countdown, and I will untick auto assign mission, and that'll just not run any of this. And then for the actual mission component, I go start mission on load, compile, save. I think that should just circumvent the countdown. Okay, there we go. Now the mission just starts immediately. But yeah, that part on the HUD, it should be saying cogs collected out of 10 in the top, and it isn't. So that's what should happen, but it isn't doing that for some reason. I will untick slot in HUD, because maybe it can't find the HUD for whatever reason. I don't know. Let's try again. Okay, it's just straight up not spawning it. Okay, that's funny. Very funny. Event encounter. Metric. Widget active on activate true. I'm just going to hit neither for all of these, so it never turns it off, just to test. Neither. Okay, that looks good. Let's see what happens now. Okay, still nothing. Because, yeah, it should be spawning it on the screen. I mean, they still work. Like, it still opens. So at least it isn't completely, like... It's, like, not completely broken. It's just not spawning the HUD widget. I wonder why. Set active... Set widget active on activate. I mean, yeah, that should, like, that should do it. Maybe I'll try a different index. Like, I'll spawn it in a different spot. Okay, no, that doesn't... No, it doesn't work. I think... I don't know, like... I'm just gonna, like... I'm gonna, like, completely not have it listen to the mission at all. And see what happens now. I think what'll happen is it just won't respond to anything. I think the counter is just disabled. Well, let's see if that actually does do what I think it will. See if that actually does still work. Okay, so yeah, that one is just turned off. So what I will do instead, just to test, is I will make it so that it turns itself on begin play instead of when the mission commences. Okay, that still didn't spawn the widget, because I'm wondering if, like, the mission event is interfering with the widget spawning. Like, when the mission is started, it, like, is fighting with something else, and it's like, oh, okay, we won't, you know, it says to spawn, but it also says not to. All right, well, that didn't make a difference then. So we'll undo what I just did. We'll go back to how it was, because that was... It functionally worked, it just didn't have the metric spawning, like the HUD, the widget. So if I go back to int counter, because there's a few things. One of the things is that the event to trigger the widget is just not happening. Another thing could be is that this object can't find the HUD. Like, it just, because there's a base class that handles where metrics go, and maybe it can't find it. Maybe. It's an idea. Could be a lot of things, so we're gonna have to, like, narrow it down a bit. So I don't know, it's gonna be tough. But I know I can figure this out. Mission component metric. Let's try something. So on the base metric, there should be an event when the widget is created. Let's just see if it actually, if this is actually getting called, because I have no clue if it is or not for this gate. Okay, that's interesting. I don't think that's getting called. I didn't see anything about the gate on that print string there. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Alright, yeah, so that... Oh. Hold on, I gotta exit and restart. I think it's getting called sometimes, but it isn't. So it. So it isn't triggering when the mission starts, I think, or I don't know. Let me just investigate. Event counter. See if I go int, because the thing is, it's set to set active on activate, but then it also, okay, I think I might know what I need to turn on. I have to turn on set widget active on mission load to true, I think. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, maybe on mission start. Widget active. Let me. Oh, I'll zoom in. That's behind the chat window. You guys can't see this. So I need to turn on widget visibility on. So widget active on mission load. So that needs to be true. That needs to be neither. This needs to be true. I shouldn't have to do this, but if this doesn't still work, then I know that the problem's deeper. But if this works at least, then I know it's just these things kind of acting very literally, and I can work with that. Set active on mission loaded. True, false, true, false. True, true. Neither. No. Okay. I feel like that combination should yield something. Oh, yes. Okay. We got somewhere. Now it... Yes, now it actually shows the number on the screen and it updates. So that's what I was wanting to have. Except I have to turn on a specific list of things for that to show up, which is kind of annoying. I have an idea on how I'd solve it though. But this is what it's supposed to do. So let me restart. So it says 0 out of 10. And remember, because this is all using the same systems, it just works. So that counter will just update itself. If I hit respawn, it will respawn itself. I actually don't know if it'll save it if I die. Okay, it does. So it doesn't reset it when I die. I think I can make it do it if I want to, but I'm gonna leave it alone. And there we go, 10 out of 10. Pretty cool. So that's how it's meant to work. And the thing that's really cool about this, and it's not supposed to show up on the results screen, that's something I'll have to look at. But the thing that's cool is that you can do this to any object. That's the thing that is like, that's the power of the dark side, is that you can add a metric to anything and turn on those things and have it show a tracker on screen like this without a mission even being in place. So what I can do, if I really wanted, like I can have these gates exist completely independent of the mission and have them still work. Like the mission is not even active, and as long as the cogs are there, it'll just work. Like that's the idea. So, and it'll work in other mission types and everything like that. So you can have a completely different mission with different parameters and have this system there and it'll work. Because it's all self-contained, it's independent. And I'm just so happy to see that on screen and have it work. You guys have no idea how frustrating that's been, because it's like I think a week ago I added like that, and then I was like, oh, why is that not working? And now it's finally working. And the cool thing is, it gets better. It gets better. Okay, watch this. If I wanted to, I can actually tell that metric to say something different. So if I go down to the int counter, I scroll down to the HUD section, I can change its icon just for this one. I can change its name. I can get rid of get rid of the suffix, I can change the alignment to be like vertical alignment. I'll make it right, and I can change like the thing, just say like something like that if I wanted. And then if I hit play, it'll show that stuff. How cool is that? Oh, that's okay. That kind of went a bit off screen though, didn't it? Hold on. I put too much text in. The text shrinking doesn't quite work yet. Let me fix that. Suffix visibility collapsed. Okay, let's try that. Oh. There we go. So now, yeah, so now I can have it read something else. So, you know, if you wanted, you can basically configure the metric to say anything. You know, you could have it say like, you know, like floppy disks found, or anything you want without having to make a new widget. It just works. You can just type it in on that object for that to say one specific thing, and it works. So that's pretty cool. And likewise, this is far beyond cosmetic, because then I can just go in here and say, oh, you know, for this one, I'm going to make it 100, you know? And I can have it so that it says 0 out of 100 now. Just like that. Super easy. You don't have to write any new code. It just works. So I can change, because here's the thing, all right? This is, okay, this is probably where I'll end it, but I'm gonna tell you a cool possibility about what this can do later. This will not affect any of you guys, but this will affect me. And actually, it kind of does affect you guys. So here's what I envision. Okay, this is the master plan, right? So what's going to happen with tools like this? Because think about it. These allow for lots of little objectives in the environment. A lot of fun can be made from these tools. I think I explained in a few streams before that you could use these to make a floor is lava mode mission and have it so that if you touch the floor more than 5 times, it's game over or something. Like, you can do stuff like that with this counter metric system. And the cool bit is, because there's a few benefits that this gives you when you have it all working. First of which is that if you have, like, because here's the thing, right? Because during alpha, because we're kind of getting into alpha. This is where we are. We're doing some alpha development. Because here's what I think is here's like what I picture, right? There's a lot I have to learn still to produce the rest of the game. There's a lot of new disciplines I'm gonna have to learn. There's, you know, production stuff, art stuff, audio stuff, marketing stuff, QA stuff, a lot of things I have to do. Not complaining. I want to do that stuff. It's just, it's a lot. So the way I'm thinking in my brain is, I'm gonna have my hands full. How can I make things easier for me later so that my hands are slightly less full? One of the ways I picture that is that alpha is gonna be like, because the goal of alpha is to create content for the game. But you can't create content without good tools. I tried, it sucks. You don't want to do that. I know it's a more upfront time investment to try and make good tools and then make content. You know, some people might say that, oh, you know, you don't need to make it perfect, you just go and make content. But I'm a firm believer that if I make better tools, I can make better content and quicker. That's my attitude. That's what I think will happen. So when I get tools like this, because here's where this sort of comes cool, right? I want alpha, when I'm making content, what I want is an environment, a development environment that is playful. I want to be able to show up in the editor and just make stuff and have fun, because if I have fun making it, you will have more fun playing it. My life will be slightly better. I'm still going to have the other stuff I have to do and learn. That's going to be hell, but at least this bit will be fun. So it's one less thing that's going to make it unbearable, which sounds very depressing when I put it that way, but for those who have been through development, you'll probably understand the attitude I'm trying to get at here. Like, the less things that are hell, the better, because suffering is unavoidable. It will happen. Things absolutely will go wrong. But if you can have like one thing that doesn't, it makes it slightly bearable, you know? Like, life is a little bit better because of the choice you made earlier to like make tools for yourself. So that's the thing, though, is that all does come at a cost, because the cost that this came at was me building these systems, which has taken a while. But I know absolutely that it will pay off, because what will happen now is if I'm you know, making levels and stuff, and I think, hey, I have an idea of a cool little rule thing to put in this thing. Like, maybe for this mission, there's a specific condition. Like, there's a secret door that needs to have a cog that you gotta find. Hit it in the level. To implement that with these tools would take like a minute. To implement that without these tools would take a few days. Because you'd have to program a specific thing for that one level. You have to go into the level blueprint and mess around. And then if you make a change to some other thing later, it breaks and you have to redo it. But in this scenario with what I've got here, this works. Like, I know that there's still some of these bugs, but just in that little demonstration, that is now a bug that won't happen. So when you want to make like a secret door in a level, and you might say, why the hell would you want to do that? And it's like, because it's fun, okay? You want to have like moments like that in production where you have a spontaneous idea and there is no resistance to putting it in. Because you shouldn't go too far with that, obviously, but I believe that having those little bits of joy in development, I think players will appreciate it. Because they'll go, oh my god, there was so much love put into this. Like, you know, because when you work, like, when I work with people, like when I was working with Matt on the levels, we had heaps of spontaneous ideas like that. Like, when we were doing stuff, it's like, oh, well, what if we had this here? You know, like, that happened a lot. And I wanted, when I was making these tools, I wanted, the vision was that those moments could be encouraged and not a pain to do. So you could have more of that playfulness. Because I think development, you know, it is play, really. Like, it should feel like play and have it come naturally and just feel fun. I think that's something I value a lot. Now, another benefit that this has, in addition to making life easier, is that it makes iteration time much more rapid. Because let's say I had this level, okay? Let's say I had this level, and I did playtesting. And let's say I had it like this, where I had 100 cogs in this little area, and you have to collect all 100 of them and whatever. And let's say that sucks, and everyone's like, oh, Ray, 100 cogs is way too much. It's a real pain. Can you like not have it at 100 cogs? You know what I do? I go, yeah, no problem. And I go to this object, and I go to this this component, and I just change this number, and that's it. That's it. Now it's 10 cogs, and the entire mission parameters have been changed without having to actually change the code and recontextualize the code to the specifics of this. I just have to change a number. And all the other systems that depend on this that you can't see happening, because there's all this invisible stuff that's going on with this, that will also work with it. So that's the kind of thing I'm trying to like chase after here. Because imagine like more of this. Like, let's say because I have this thing, I did get a bit of feedback recently, because I had this thing where if you collect cogs, it gives you points, and it contributes to the cog counter. And that cog counter does get contributed to your total score at the end. Now, someone said that they would prefer that the cogs didn't contribute to the score, and only contributed to the cog bonus. You know what I can do? I can say, yeah, no problem. And I can just go to the mission, or maybe, I just go to the cogs. I can go to like the default cog, and I go to score binder, and I just like set this to 0, or I untick this, either one, or I just delete the score binder component, and then done. That feedback is implemented, and I can test it and see what people think. So yes, in the short term, it is a pain to get that to actually work, but I absolutely know, I have a lot of confidence in believing that this will pay off much later, and you guys probably aren't going to really see that, because that's all stuff that I have to do. But I'm going to be... The way you'll be able to tell is that I will be slightly happier. My mood will be slightly better in like 6 months. That's how you can tell. And I know that seems like a very minor thing, but I think that will have, like... It's a butterfly effect kind of thing. Like, it's going to have lots of ramifications. If I can make things even slightly better, to me, that's a win. Anyway, I think I might stop it there, because I think this is a good point, I think, to just kind of stop and let the rest of these bugs simmer, because we still got a few to get through. So I don't want to take this off yet, because I do want to change a few things about it. But yeah, that's mostly fixed though, so that's good. Oh, excuse me. Would the number change the UI as well as the physical COD actors inside the level? I could make it do that, but I don't have it I don't have that at the moment. I think what you're asking is, can I have it so that that counter will automatically populate with all the cogs? Yes. That isn't a feature now, but I can make that a feature just by adding a function that says auto get cogs and then cast to all the cogs and return a number or something. That is absolutely possible. And yeah, that actually, because then you could just automate it all and say, hey, like, you know, for all these things, bind them to the gate, and then the gate can just automatically like go, oh, how many things are bound to me? And then it just counts it. Yeah, that is absolutely possible. And then you can just like, you know, oh, I want there to be 9 cogs. You can just delete one, and then it would change the number. So I'll need to like add that in so that it automatically like sets that number. That actually was a thing in the old version of this system, but the old version was really broken. But that was a thing, so I feel confident that that would be possible. But yeah, it's I know it's so weird. Like this stuff probably sounds really boring, and it's like, oh, who cares? Like it doesn't really affect the end product, but it does. It just doesn't affect it in a way that you can tangibly quantify. For the player. The developer can quantify it, absolutely, but the player won't be able to tell. But I know for me, I would rather have fun in alpha than mess around in the level blueprint and have to make all this new non-scalable logic for specific one-off ideas, because now it can just all work like Todd Howard said, right? And if it just works, then that's amazing. That's like the dream. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna stop it there because I think I want to quit while I'm ahead today. But anyway, thanks so much for coming and hanging out. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes sense. Yeah, you get it. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. But yeah, thanks for coming by. Thanks again to Death Diamond for speedrunning my game earlier. On his Twitch stream. Really cool. And I think that's all I wanted to say. But yeah, thanks so much, guys. Again, hit the bell for the next time I go live. I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow or not, because I need to like think about there's the other bug we found that I didn't fix. I need to let that just kind of cook in the background. I'll come up with something. I just need to let it cook for a bit. So when I come up with an answer, I will be on and I'll show you what I'm gonna do. But until then, I will see you guys next time.